Captain Lisa Roberts stood at the command deck of the EDF Stalwart, watching another alien fleet jump into hyperspace. This was the fifth exodus she'd witnessed this week. Her hands gripped the railing tighter as the beautiful crystalline ships of the Luminari disappeared into the darkness, leaving their colony worlds behind. "Captain, we're getting more departure signals," said Officer Jack Wilson from his monitoring station. "3 more civilizations are pulling out of the Orion Arm. The Scytheri, the Meridians, and even the Centauri are leaving." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment. The Centauri had been humanity's first alien contact, their closest friends among the stars. Their departure felt like a deep betrayal. "Show me the evacuation pattern," she ordered, keeping her voice steady. The main screen lit up with a map of local space, red arrows marking the flight paths of their former allies. Lieutenant Commander David Cooper walked up beside her, his face reflecting the blue glow of the display. "Ma'am, I've been studying their departure routes. There's something odd about them." He pointed to several spots on the map. "They're all avoiding this region of space, like water flowing around a rock." Lisa leaned forward, studying the pattern. David was right. There was a clear void in their escape routes, a dark spot that every fleeing ship curved around. More troubling was that Earth sat right at the edge of this mysterious zone. "Any word from the Alliance Council?" she asked. "Nothing useful," David replied, pulling up a message on his tablet. "Just more diplomatic double talk about necessary strategic withdrawals and temporary readjustment of celestial territories." He shook his head. "They're hiding something big." The ship's sensors suddenly pinged. "Captain," called out Sarah Mills from the science station, "I'm picking up strange energy readings from the restricted zone. They're like nothing in our database." Lisa walked over to look at the readings. The energy patterns pulsed like heartbeats, but with a rhythm that seemed wrong somehow. They made her head hurt just looking at them. "Send this data to Earth Command," she ordered, "and get me a direct line to Admiral Hayes." Before Sarah could respond, another alert sounded. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace," Jack announced. It's the entire Scytheri High Council fleet." The massive ships of the Scytheri, oldest members of the Galactic Alliance, appeared before them. Their mile-long vessels were works of art, built over thousands of years. But now they were packed with refugees, their usual golden glow dimmed. "They're requesting permission to pass through our defense perimeter," Jack said. "Granted," Lisa replied. "But I want to speak to their commander first." The face that appeared on her screen belonged to Supreme Commander Scoville, his usually pristine silver scales now dull with fatigue. "Captain Roberts," he said, his translator making his voice sound tired and old, "we do not have time for discussions." "Make time," Lisa demanded. "You owe us that much. What are you running from?" Scoville's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of fear in his species. "It is better you do not know. Your race is too young to evacuate safely through the deep paths. We cannot help you." "Can't help us, or won't?" Lisa pressed. "Both," Scoville replied. "What comes cannot be fought, cannot be reasoned with. It hungers for thought itself. You have been good allies, humans. Die well." The transmission cut off. Lisa watched in stunned silence as the Scytheri ships moved past them, their engines charging for another jump. The proud race that had welcomed humanity to the stars wouldn't even look back at them now. "Orders, Captain," David asked quietly. Lisa straightened her uniform. "Plot a course back to Earth, and download everything you can from the Alliance networks before they shut them down." She turned to face her crew, seeing the worry on their faces. "Whatever's coming, humanity will face it on our feet, not running like cowards." As the stalwart turned toward home, the strange energy readings from the restricted zone grew stronger, and in the darkness between the stars, something ancient began to stir. Earth's warriors would soon face their greatest test, not just for survival, but to prove that humanity's place in the galaxy had been earned. The darkness was coming, But Lisa Roberts and her crew would make sure humanity's light wouldn't go quietly into the night. Ambassador William Nash walked through the empty halls of the Galactic Alliance headquarters on Luna Base. His footsteps echoed in spaces that just a week ago had buzzed with the voices of 100 alien species. Now, only the human staff remained, sorting through the data and equipment left behind. A soft blue light pulsed from the Scatheri section, catching his attention. That area should have been dark. The Scatheri had left with the others. William drew his security card and opened the sealed door. Inside, he found Elder Khazar, one of the oldest Scatheri scholars, slumped over a control panel. The alien's silver scales had turned a sickly gray. Elder Khazar. William rushed forward. You need medical attention. No time, Khazar wheezed, his translator crackling. Must warn, before others know I stayed. The ancient alien pressed a data crystal into William's hand. The truth, about why we run, about why we leave you. I don't understand, William said, holding the dying alien. What could be so terrible that the entire Alliance would abandon us? The Void Hunters. Khazar's voice shook. They wake every 50,000 years, feed on conscious thought, on fear, on life itself. His breathing grew ragged. Your species, too young to travel deep paths, would die in transit. But old races, we hoped, you might. You left us as bait, William realized, anger rising in his chest. As hope, Khazar corrected. Your minds, different. Watch crystal. Understand. With those words, the Elder's eyes dimmed forever. Back at Earth Defense Command, Dr. Rachel Mitchell studied the data from Khazar's crystal. Her lab was filled with brain scan readouts, human patterns next to alien ones. This is incredible, she said to the gathered military leaders. Look at how human brainwave patterns react to void energy compared to other species. Admiral Robert Hayes leaned forward. Explain it simply, Doctor. Rachel pointed to the screens. Other species' minds break down when exposed to void energy. But human minds, we adapt. We resist. Something about our thought patterns makes us harder to digest, so to speak. You're saying these void hunters can't eat us as easily? General Mary Parker asked. More than that, Rachel replied. The data suggests our emotional responses actually hurt them. Elder Khazar's research shows the void hunters prefer ordered, logical minds. Human consciousness is messier, more chaotic, more resilient. William Nash spoke up from his corner. So they left us behind because we couldn't escape through their safe routes, but they also hoped we might survive long enough to find a way to fight back. Some allies, Hayes growled, using us as their last line of defense. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent call from the outer system sensors. Everyone turned to the main screen, where Lieutenant Sarah Mills's face appeared, her expression grim. Admiral, the void energy readings are off the charts, she reported. Something massive is forming near Jupiter's orbit. And sir, we're losing contact with our outer colonies. Hayes stood straight, his voice firm. Dr. Mitchell, you have 1 week to turn your discovery into a weapon. General Parker, begin the evacuation of civilian populations to the underground shelters. Ambassador Nash, send word to any human ships still in deep space. They need to get back now. As the others rushed to their tasks, Rachel stayed behind, studying the brain scan patterns. There was something else in the data, something Khazar had barely begun to understand. Human emotions weren't just resistant to the void energy. They could change it. She opened a comm link to engineer Kate Bishop at the Defense Research Lab. Kate, I need your help. I think we can build something that turns our minds into shields. Maybe even weapons. Using human consciousness as a defense system. Kate sounded skeptical, but intrigued. That's either brilliant or crazy. It's both, Rachel said, sending over the data. Just like humanity itself. And right now, being different from the logical, orderly races might be our only chance. As she worked through the night, Rachel could feel the growing tension in the air. Humanity was alone against an ancient horror, abandoned by their allies. But maybe, just maybe, the very things that made them too young and too chaotic would be what saved them all. The warning had been delivered. Now it was time to prepare for war. Admiral Robert Hayes stood at the window of Earth Defense Command, watching shuttles race across the sky. In just 3 days, the planet had transformed into a war camp. Defense platforms that had slept for centuries were waking up, their ancient technology responding to human commands as if they had been waiting for this moment. "Sir, you need to see this," Engineer Kate Bishop called from her workstation. She had dark circles under her eyes from working nonstop. "We found something while activating the old platforms. They're not alien tech, they're human." Hayes walked over to her screen. "What do you mean, human? These platforms are older than our civilization." "That's just it," Kate pointed to the data streams. "The control systems, they're designed for human brainwaves, almost like whoever built them knew we'd be here someday." Before Hayes could respond, Colonel Marcus Wright's face appeared on the main screen. He led the defense of the Mars colony. "Admiral, we've finished installing Dr. Mitchell's neural shields around the colony. The void energy can't penetrate them when we have enough people connected to the network." "Any side effects?" Hayes asked. "Headaches, some weird dreams," Marcus replied. "But it's working. The colonists' minds are actually strengthening the shield when they work together." Dr. Rachel Mitchell joined the conversation from her lab. Her latest prototype neural transmitter glowed softly on her temple. "It's more than just defense," she said excitedly. "The more we study these ancient platforms, the more we realize they're not just shields. They're weapons. Weapons powered by human consciousness." Hayes looked at the tired faces of his team. They were humanity's best hope, working around the clock to prepare for an enemy that had scared away civilizations far older and more advanced than Earth. "Kate, how long until we can arm all the platforms?" he asked. 24 hours for full activation," she answered. "But Admiral, there's something else. These platforms, they form a pattern." She pulled up a star map. "Look familiar?" Hayes felt his breath catch. The pattern of ancient platforms matched exactly with the way the alien fleets had curved around Earth during their retreat. "They knew," he whispered. "The whole Alliance knew these were here, knew what we were." "We were never meant to run," Rachel said softly. "We were meant to fight." The meeting was interrupted by emergency alarms. Lieutenant Joe Wilson's voice came over the comm, tense but controlled. "Multiple void ruptures detected near Jupiter. Sir, the hunters are coming through." Hayes straightened his uniform. "Colonel Wright, get every colonist hooked into those shields. Dr. Mitchell, power up all active neural transmitters. Engineer Bishop, wake up every platform you can." He turned to the main screen showing Earth's defense grid. "And someone get me Captain Roberts on the line." The stalwart had just returned from deep space, and Hayes needed his best ship captain ready for what was coming. The void energy was affecting most of their advanced targeting systems, but Lisa Roberts had proven she could fight on instinct alone. As if summoned by his thoughts, Lisa's face appeared on the screen. "Stalwart reporting in, Admiral. We've loaded the neural transmitters, and my crew is ready." She paused, then added, "Sir, the void energy. Some of my people say they can feel it now, like it's trying to get inside their heads." "That's what we're counting on," Rachel replied. "Your crew's minds are weapons now, Captain. The more the hunters try to get in, the more they'll expose themselves to human consciousness. Time to see if being young and unpredictable has its advantages," Lisa said with a grim smile. Around Earth, the ancient platforms hummed to life, their energy connecting with the minds of every human linked to the network. In underground shelters, in space stations, and in colonial bunkers, humanity prepared for a battle they had been chosen for without knowing it. The first void ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, massive dark shapes that hurt the eyes to look at. But this time, Earth didn't stand alone. Every human mind was becoming part of humanity's shield, and their determination would be their sword. Hayes looked at his people, tired, scared, but standing firm. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Last Stand begins now." The darkness was coming, but humanity was done running from shadows. It was time to show the galaxy why the ancient builders had chosen them as guardians. Lieutenant Amy Peterson watched from the bridge of the EDF Defender as the first Void Hunter ships emerged near Jupiter. They looked like tears in space, long dark shapes that seemed to swallow the starlight around them. Her patrol fleet of 5 ships was humanity's first line of defense. "All crews, activate neural transmitters," she ordered, touching the device on her own temple. The familiar warm buzz filled her mind as she connected to her crew's shared consciousness. "Ma'am, the void energy is interfering with our targeting systems," reported Officer Ben Miller. His hands moved steadily over the controls despite the fear in his voice. "Switch to manual targeting," Amy commanded. "Remember your training. Trust your instincts." The first Void Hunter ship moved toward them, its surface rippling like black water. Amy felt a pressure in her head, like someone trying to push their way in. Around her, crew members winced but held steady. "They're trying to feed," Dr. Rachel Mitchell's voice came through the comm. She was monitoring from Earth. "Push back with your emotions. Don't fight the connection. Use it." Amy thought of Earth, of her family in the underground shelters. She felt her crew doing the same, their minds linking through the neural network. Their feelings of determination and anger flowed together. The Void Hunter ship shuddered. "It's working," Ben shouted. "They're pulling back." But more ships were coming through. Amy counted at least 20 massive vessels, each one bigger than anything humanity had built. The pressure in her head grew stronger. "Defender fleet, weapons free," she ordered. "Show them what happens when they try to eat human thoughts." The battle erupted in flashes of light. Regular weapons passed right through the void ships, but the neural-linked weapons on their ships burned bright holes in the darkness. Each hit was powered by human emotion. Fear turned to determination. Anger turned to strength. "We've lost the brave," someone called out. One of their ships exploded, its crew's minds going silent in the neural net. Amy felt the loss like a physical blow. But the remaining crews fought harder, their shared grief becoming a weapon. The void ships couldn't handle the chaotic storm of human emotions. Where they expected to find easy prey, they found a fierce resistance. "Main void ship is approaching," Ben reported. It's huge." The ship that emerged from the rift dwarfed all others. Amy felt its ancient hunger reaching for their minds. But something else was happening too. Through the neural link, she could sense the void ship's surprise. "Dr. Mitchell," she called out, "are you seeing this? They didn't expect us to fight back. They've never faced anything like human emotions before." "Keep pushing," Rachel urged. "Your minds are like poison to them. The more they try to feed, the more they have to face human consciousness." Amy grabbed her command chair as the Defender shook from another attack. "All ships, form up. Concentrate fire on the main vessel. Pour everything you're feeling into the weapons." The patrol fleet moved as one, their crews' minds linked in shared purpose. The void ships tried to scatter their formation, but human instincts proved faster than alien logic. Where the void hunters moved like a flowing river, humans darted like lightning. "They're pulling back," Ben called out. "The smaller ships are retreating." Amy watched as the void ships withdrew, their surfaces rippling with what looked like pain. The main ship lingered, its massive form blocking out Jupiter behind it. Through the neural link, Amy felt something. A message, not in words but in feelings. The void ship was old, ancient beyond understanding. But it was also confused. Humanity's minds had heard it in a way nothing had before. "They're not invincible," Amy breathed. "They can be hurt. They can be beaten." She opened a channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Hayes, the Void Hunters are falling back. We've won the first round." "Good work, Lieutenant," Hayes replied. But this was just a test. They'll be back, and now they know what we can do. Amy looked at her tired but proud crew. They had faced humanity's ancient enemy and proved they weren't easy prey. The neural transmitters hummed with their shared triumph. "Let them come back," she said. "Now we know what we can do too. And we're just getting started." As the void ships disappeared into their rifts, Amy felt Earth's defense platforms powering up through the neural network. Humanity had survived first contact, and they had learned something vital. The Void Hunters could feel fear too. The real war was about to begin. Captain Brian Foster watched the battle screens aboard the EDF Dauntless, his neural transmitter pulsing with the combined focus of his crew. 3 weeks of fighting had taught them much about their enemy, and now it was time to use that knowledge. "Their weakness isn't just our emotions," he said to his crew. "It's that they can't understand them. They can't predict what humans will do." He pointed to the void ships gathering near Mars. "And that's how we're going to beat them." Dr. Rachel Mitchell's latest invention sat at the heart of their ship, the Mindwave broadcaster. It was bigger than the neural transmitters, designed not just to defend but to attack. "All ships, power up your broadcasters," Brian ordered. The device hummed to life, channeling the crew's thoughts into a weapon. "Remember, don't fight the fear. Use it. Let them feel everything." The fleet moved forward, 20 ships strong. On Mars below, Colonel Marcus Wright had every colonist connected to the defense network, their minds adding power to the shield and feeding energy to the fleet above. "Void ships approaching," Officer Emma Carter reported. 5 big ones, dozen smaller ones. Her hands were steady on the controls despite the pressure building in everyone's heads. Brian smiled. "Time to show them our surprise. Launch the drones." Hundreds of small drones shot from the human ships. Each one carried a tiny mindwave broadcaster, programmed with recorded human emotions. The void ships moved to destroy them, expecting simple machines. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by bursts of human joy, anger, love, and courage. The smaller void ships recoiled, their surfaces rippling with confusion. "It's working," Emma shouted. "They can't tell which emotions are real and which are recorded. Their formation is breaking." Brian felt the enemy's ancient consciousness pressing against his mind. But now he understood what that pressure meant. "They're not just hunting," he realized. "They're afraid of us. We're the first prey that ever fought back." Through the neural network, he ordered the fleet to advance. The void ships tried to retreat, but the drone swarm had them surrounded. Everywhere they turned, they faced the chaotic storm of human emotions. "Main batteries, fire," Brian commanded. The human fleet attacked as one, their weapons powered by the combined will of their crews. Where normal weapons had failed, these new rays of energy, born from human consciousness, tore through the void ship's defenses. 3 of the large void ships dissolved into nothing, their ancient minds overwhelmed by the emotional assault. The remaining 2 tried to flee, but the drone swarm followed, broadcasting recorded human laughter, a sound that seemed to cause them physical pain. "Sir," Emma called out, "we're getting signals from the outer system. More void ships are retreating." "They're running from our broadcast range." Brian opened a channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Hayes, the Mindwave broadcasters work better than we hoped. The Void Hunters can't handle multiple human emotions at once. When we hit them with joy and anger together, they just break." Rachel's voice joined the conversation. "It makes sense. They evolved to feed on ordered, logical minds. Human emotions are like poison to them. And mixed emotions are even worse." "Good work, Captain," Hayes replied. "But we got bigger problems. Our long-range sensors show their main fleet gathering. Must be thousands of ships. They're done testing us. Now they're angry." Brian looked at his crew, saw the determination in their faces. The neural network hummed with their shared purpose. "Let them come," he said. "Humanity's got a few thousand years of emotions saved up, and now we know how to use them." He turned to his communications officer. Send word to all ships and colonies. Download every emotional memory you can into the broadcasters. Happy ones, sad ones, angry ones. Everything. We're going to show these ancient horrors why picking on the youngest species in the galaxy was their biggest mistake. Through the neural link, Brian felt the approval and excitement of his crew. Humanity had found its weapon against the darkness. Their emotions, once seen as weakness by their logical alien allies, had become their greatest strength. The void ships might have been ancient and powerful, but they were about to learn why humans were left behind. Not as bait, but as the galaxy's last and best hope. The counterattack had begun. Major Susan Chen stood in the airlock of her strike team's ship, checking her neural-enhanced combat suit one last time. Through the viewport, she could see the massive void rift that her team was about to enter. It swirled like a black whirlpool in space, surrounded by the wreckage of both human and void ships. Remember, Dr. Rachel Mitchell's voice came through their neural link. Your suits will protect you from the void energy, but only your minds can fight back once you're inside. Susan looked at her team of 12. They were humanity's best, chosen not just for their skills, but for their emotional strength. One last check on the Mindwave broadcasters, she ordered. Each soldier carried a miniature version of the weapon that had turned the tide of the space battles. But these were special, designed to work in the Void Hunter's own dimension. Major Admiral Hayes called through the comm. The fleet is in position. We'll keep them busy out here while you find their weak point. Around them, the largest human fleet ever assembled engaged the Void Hunters in battle. The Void ships were massive and numerous, but they fought defensively now, afraid of the emotional weapons that had destroyed so many of their kind. Strike Team, final link-up, Susan commanded. Their neural transmitters synchronized, 12 minds becoming one fighting unit. Remember your training. Don't block any emotions. Let them flow naturally. That's what they can't handle. The airlock opened. Susan led her team into space, their suits' thrusters carrying them toward the rift. Through their shared link, she felt everyone's fear, but also their determination. They had trained for months for this mission. Rift entrance in 10 seconds, reported Sergeant Rick Davis, his voice steady despite the pressure building in all their heads. The void energy was stronger here, trying to break into their thoughts. Shields up. Broadcasters ready, Susan ordered. Let's show them what Earth's warriors are made of. They plunged into the rift. The darkness wrapped around them like thick water. Strange shapes moved in the distance, and alien thoughts pressed against their mental shields. Through their neural link, Susan heard several team members gasp. The void dimension was like nothing they had trained for. Colors that shouldn't exist, geometry that hurt to look at. But they pushed forward. There, Lieutenant Anna Wilson pointed, the central node. They saw it, a massive structure floating in the void, pulsing with dark energy. This was where the Void Hunters came from, their source of power, and it was unguarded. The ancient beings had never expected prey to follow them home. Formation Delta, Susan commanded. The team spread out, surrounding the node. Activate broadcasters on my mark. The node sensed them. Waves of terror and hunger washed over their shields. The Void Hunters had been feeding on fear for 50,000 years, but they had never faced humans who used their fear as a weapon. Now, Susan activated her broadcaster. Her team followed suit. They poured everything they felt into their weapons, their fear, their anger, their hope, their love for Earth. 12 human minds, broadcasting the full spectrum of human emotions directly into the heart of the void. The node shuddered. Cracks of light appeared in its surface. The void itself seemed to scream. It's working, Rick shouted. The node is destabilizing. Susan felt the pressure in her head building to unbearable levels. But through the neural link, she drew strength from her team. They held each other up, their shared determination becoming a weapon stronger than any physical force. Keep broadcasting, she ordered. Pour it all in. Every memory, every feeling. They thought of Earth, a family, of everything they were fighting for. They remembered joy and sorrow, love and loss, hope and despair, the full chaos of human consciousness unleashed at once. The node couldn't handle it. The cracks spread, light pouring through. The void dimension itself began to tear apart around them. Mission accomplished, Susan called. Everyone out. Now. They flew back toward the rift, their broadcasters still running at full power. Behind them, the node exploded in a blast of impossible colors. The void dimension began collapsing. As they emerged back into normal space, they saw the void ships retreating in panic. Without their central node, they were losing power, losing cohesion. Major Chen, Admiral Hayes's voice was filled with pride. You just turned the tide of this war. The Void Hunters are running, not just from Earth, but from the whole galaxy. Susan looked at her team, exhausted but triumphant. Through their neural link, she felt their shared joy and relief. They had faced humanity's darkest nightmare and proved that emotions weren't weakness, they were power. The tide had turned. The darkness was receding, and humanity had shown the galaxy why they were chosen to stand guard. Admiral Robert Hayes stood at Earth Defense Command's main viewing window, watching the first alien ships return to the solar system. These weren't void ships. These were their former allies, creeping back like cautious animals testing if the danger had passed. Sir, Lieutenant Jack Wilson reported, we're receiving transmission requests from the Scytheri High Council, the Luminary Federation, and pretty much everyone who left. Hayes smiled grimly. Put them through to the main screen. Let's hear what they have to say. The screen filled with alien faces, the silver-scaled Scytheri, the crystalline Luminari, and dozens of other species. Their expressions showed a mixture of shame, awe, and hope. Supreme Commander Scyvil spoke first. Earth, humanity, we owed you an apology and our deepest thanks. Thanks? Hayes raised an eyebrow. For doing what you all ran from. For proving us wrong, another alien leader said. For showing us that youth and emotion could triumph where ancient wisdom failed. Captain Lisa Roberts joined the conversation from the Stalwart, now patrolling the outer system. The void ships are still retreating. Our long-range sensors show them abandoning the entire galaxy. They're afraid of us now. Dr. Rachel Mitchell stepped forward, her neural transmitter glowing softly. They should be. The data we gathered shows they've never encountered anything like human consciousness. We're not just resistant to them. We're toxic to them. Every human emotion is like poison to their ancient minds. Through the neural network that now connected all of Earth's forces, Hayes felt the pride and satisfaction of humanity's defenders. They had faced extinction, and instead became the galaxy's protectors. We wish to return, Scyvil said carefully, to rebuild our colonies, to restore the Alliance. Under humanity's protection, another alien added quickly, if you're willing. Hayes looked at Ambassador William Nash, who nodded slowly. We'll consider it, Hayes replied. But things will be different now. Humanity won't be the junior partner anymore. Of course not, Scyvil agreed. You've proven yourselves the strongest of us all. The ancient builders chose well when they left their defense platforms in your solar system. Colonel Marcus Wright's voice came in from Mars Colony. Speaking of those platforms, we've fully activated them now. The entire network. Earth isn't just defended anymore. It's a fortress. And we've learned how to build more. Engineer Kate Bishop added from her lab, where she was studying the ancient technology. We can extend the network, protect the whole sector. Hayes faced the alien leaders on the screen. Here's how this works. We'll help rebuild. We'll share our defense technology, the parts we choose to share. We'll protect you from threats like the Void Hunters. But in return, you acknowledge Earth as the center of a new defensive pact, the Human Protectorate. The aliens quickly agreed. They had seen what humanity could do. More importantly, they had seen what humanity chose to do, not just survive, but protect others, even those who had abandoned them. Through the neural network, Hayes felt a surge of purpose from Earth's forces. They had been shaped by this crisis, transformed from the galaxy's newcomers into its guardians. One more thing, Hayes added. Those deep space routes you use to evacuate, we want them. Our scientists think human consciousness might be able to stabilize them, make them safe for everyone. Impossible, one alien protested. The deep path's air. We just defeated an enemy you thought was invincible, Hayes interrupted. Don't tell us what's impossible. Later that day, Hayes stood with his core team. Lisa, Rachel, Kate, Susan, and William, watching Earth's sunset. The neural network hummed with activity as ships moved in and out of the system, beginning the great work of rebuilding. They're calling us the Dark Slayers now, William said, amused. Our former allies are writing songs about human courage. They left us as bait, Susan Chen reminded them. But we became hunters instead. We became what we needed to be, Rachel corrected. What the galaxy needed us to be. Hayes looked at his team, feeling their shared connection through the neural network. Humanity had changed. They were still young, still emotional, still chaotic by the standards of older races. But now, they knew those weren't weaknesses. They were strengths. The void ships were gone, driven away by the species they thought would be easy prey. The Alliance was returning, humbled but wiser. And humanity stood at the center of it all, no longer the newcomers but the protectors. The darkness had come for them, and humanity's warriors had not just defied it. They had mastered it. The future belonged to them now, and it looked brighter than ever.